Hi guys. So we're going to read a book, a nonfiction book today called Bats. It's going to give us lots of information about bats. And it's actually made by National Geographic, which is a group that actually goes and takes pictures all over the world of things that are in nature. So the author of this book is Elizabeth Carney, and like I said, it was made by National Geographic. So right off the bat, you can tell that we have a table of contents. That usually gives us a hint that this is going to be a nonfiction book. So remember, our table of our contents is going to help us because if we need to find information and we don't want to read all the way through the book, we can go back and find it. So for example, if I need to find out about baby bats, I could look at my table of contents and I would know I need to turn right to page 22. So here we go. What's a bat? I sleep by day, I fly by night. I have no feathers to aid my flight. What am I? The answer is a bat. A bat is a mammal. Mammals are animals that nurse their young, have hair, and are warm-blooded. Humans, dogs, and whales are all animals. But bats have a special ability. They can fly. So bats are the only mammal that can fly. So if we look at a bat, we can tell it's a mammal because it's warm-blooded. If you look, its body has hair on it and that it nurses or takes care of its babies. And so down at the bottom, it has a caption. A caption is something that's going to help us either about the picture. So it says bat words, and it's telling you what that mammal is. A mammal is warm-blooded, we talked about that drinks its mother's milk, has a backbone, and has hair. Bat food. There are about 1,200 different kinds of bats in the world. Most of them eat insects. Insect-eating bats are usually small in size. There are more than 150 types of fruit bats. These bats are usually larger and search for sweet fruits and other plants. So, a lot of people are scared of bats. We're going to find out they're actually really important. In fact, bats, especially in North America, eat so many mosquitoes a day that if we didn't have bats, we would have more people uh, getting bit by mosquitoes and then even getting diseases. So bats actually help with that. And so we have a little question on here. It says, why don't bats live alone? It says they prefer to hang out with their friends. So it's kind of a joke. So when we say hang, why would they talk about hang out with their friends? That's right, because bats sleep upside down. A few bats hunt for larger prey, such as frogs, birds, or mice. Some people think that all bats suck your blood. This is not true. Only 3 kinds of bats drink blood. This group is known as vampire bats, but they mostly feed on the blood of animals like cows and deers and not humans. So they're really going to leave you alone. This is a fringed lip bat that's eating a frog. So a few of them do get big enough to get things like frogs, birds, or mice. Night flight. Did you know that while you're fast asleep, bats are busy filling their bellies? Bats are nocturnal. So remember, there's that science vocabulary word. I remember nocturnal means that they're active at night. This way of life has many advantages for a bat. Insect-eating bats often feast on bugs that come out after dark. Pollen and nectar-eating bats might feed on plants that only open up at night. Nectar is a sweet liquid made by flowers. So they kind of take advantage of that being out at night. And so this is thousands of winged-lipped bats leaving a cave at dusk. So let's think about that. We said a lot of bats, especially around here, eat mosquitoes. So when do you notice that mosquitoes are out more? That's right, when it gets in the evening and it starts to get a little bit dark outside, that's when you'll really start noticing that those mosquitoes will start biting you. So that's when bats could really help us out and come out there and take care of our mosquito population. And we've already said nocturnal means that we're active at night. Bat bodies. Scientists call bats Chiroptera, a Greek name that means hard-winged. That's because bats have 4 fingers and a thumb just like us. A thin layer of skin connects the finger. This forms the wings. Bats also have a sensitive nose and big ears. Their big ears help some bats with see sound. So remember, that big outer ear is going to collect more sound. Now, so when you look at a bat's wing, it's actually its hand. So if you look very, very carefully, you can see these lines that come in between, those are actually its fingers, and then it has a thumb right here. So you can see 1, 2, 3, and there's actually a fourth one, but it's hard to see. And then you have that thumb that can wrap around. And this part is what we call labeling. And when we see labeling in a nonfiction book, it tells us the different parts. Okay, so for example, it's showing you and pointing at the coat of fur. It's got sharp eyesight. A lot of people say blind as a bat, but bats actually can see really well. It's just they use sound more. You can see their wings, their big ears, which are for collecting a lot of sound. You can see their thumbs, their forefingers, and their coat of fur. In the pitch black night, bats can swoop up a tiny insect with ease. No flashlight required. How do they do it? They make a sound that travels when it hits an object. Then it bounces off that object and travels back to the bat, which we call that echolocation. From this echo, the bat can tell an object's size and how far away of it. This is called echolocation. So remember, it's going to send that sound wave off. He's going to hit it over here, and he's going to know I need to go that direction to find an insect. Or I need to go away from this direction because I'm about to fly into a tree. Funny faces. Some bats have strange-looking faces. Special ears, noses, and mouth help bats tune into and make sounds while they use echolocation. Their faces may look odd to us, but for these bats, these features work perfectly. So if you look at this false vampire bat, look at its ears. Remember, he's got those big outer ears to collect lots of sounds. And then the Amazonian bat has those big ears, but he also has a flat nose that's going to help him when it comes to smelling. The spotted bat, look at these ears. He's got huge ears, and they actually curve out so they can collect more and more sounds. And then the big-eared bat. Hanging out. While bats are not hunting for food, they're usually hiding in a roost. So we talked about the word roost earlier on when we talked about some of the animals that live like crows in a huge roost. Remember, it's where they gather together. Roosts can be in caves, treetops, or attics. Bats pick places where they are well hidden and protect them from bad weather. When most bats rest in their roost, they hang upside down. So they've got those really strong claws and feet that can help them. These are little red-headed flying foxes roosting in a tree. And these are the little ones. Actual flying foxes are actually the largest type of bat. Have you ever hung upside down in a jungle? You might start to feel dizzy, but bats have special veins to keep their blood flowing properly so they don't ever feel dizzy. Bats can't take off from the ground like birds do. They have to fall into flight. Hanging upside down is the best way to make a quick getaway. So they can't go up like a bird. So that's why they hang upside down, because they can just drop and then just fly. So we've got a little joke. Are you ready? Why did the bat get kicked out of the cave? Because it had a bad attitude. I know, it's kind of corny. All right, so baby bats. Baby bats are called pups. They are completely dependent on their mother after they're born. They're blind, hairless, and can't fly. They cling to their mother's fur. The pups nurse their mother's milk until their wings are strong enough to fly. So bats are actually really, really good parents. We talked about that parenting style. They have to completely take care of their babies because their babies are completely vulnerable. They can't take care of themselves. So up here, you can see that mother hanging on. Remember, that baby's going to cling to its mother. But over here, this is a Gambian bat mother and the baby flying. So she's showing him how to fly, but then she's also protecting him when he's starting to learn how to fly. Bat rescue. During storms in Australia, in an Australian rainforest, wind can knock baby bats to the forest floor. These babies usually don't survive unless wildlife workers come to the rescue. The lucky bats are taken to a bat hospital. The babies are bundled in blankets and fed milk from a bottle. After a few months, they're strong enough to return to the wild. So you can see them taking care of them. Nature's helpers. A world without bats wouldn't be very nice. Bats are an important part of our ecosystem. Insect-eating bats gobble up millions of bugs. Many of these insects are pests that can harm humans. Remember we talked about mosquitoes giving diseases or destroy crops. Bats keep their numbers under control. Other bats keep forests healthy by spreading seeds and pollen. This allows trees and flowers to multiply. So those fruit-eating bats go from one fruit to the next, and they help pollinate or move those pollens around to help plants grow. So this is a hairy-legged nectar bat with pollen on its head and shoulders. So it's kind of working just like a bee to help pollination. Bat myths busted. So a myth is something that you believe, but it's not true. It says some people have misunderstandings about bats. Here are a few common myths that drive experts batty. Okay, so the myth, bats are blind. We already talked about that. Bats actually have excellent eyesight. Some bats hunt using sight alone. It's just they're usually out in the dark, so they use echolocation. Bats are dirty. Bats are actually neat freaks. They groom themselves frequently, and the mothers lick their babies to keep them clean. Bats get stuck in hair. With sharp senses and echolocations, bats are very good flyers. They can avoid obstacles the width of a thread. So that's how well, so they're not going to just fly at you. Vampire bats turn into human vampires. There is no such thing as a human vampire, and bats certainly don't turn into them. Bat Hall of Fame. So we kind of talked about this in our poem. We have mega wings. The largest bat is a 3-pound flying fox. So look at that wingspan. The wingspan can be 6 feet long. That's longer than you are tall. Smallest bat is the bumblebee bat. Its wingspan is only 5 inches across. Its body is the size of a jelly bean. Happy campers. The Honduran white bats make tents out of leaves to protect itself from the constant rain showers. And the most crowded home, there are 20 million Mexican free-tailed bats live in one Texas cave. Think about that, 20 million. These bats are the fanciest flyers. They can soar as high as 10,000 feet and zoom through the air at 40 miles an hour. Biggest appetite. Little brown bats can eat up to 1,200 mosquitoes in one night. So think about that. One little brown bat can take care of 1,200 mosquitoes. And when we see bats around here, it's usually the little brown bat kind. Okay, we got another joke. Why did the bat use insect repellent? Because it was on a diet. Because it eats insects all the time. All right, and this is like a picture glossary. Remember, a glossary tells us what words are and explains it, but this one doesn't just have the words, it shows a picture. So it's telling you about mammal, which we talked about a mammal, echolocation, a roost, nectar, nocturnal, and then ecosystem. All right, you guys did an awesome job. So what you're going to do next is you're going to connect to Seesaw, and we're going to do a bat sort. So you're going to be sorting words on one wing of the bat if it's a noun. And remember, a noun is a person, place, or thing. And then on the other side, you're going to say the verb. Remember, a verb is an action. Awesome job, guys.